how a web service will look like, how to call the web service, and then how to test it. We are going to see, right? I'm connecting to a different machine. Give me a minute. I'm connecting to a different machine. I'll show you a web service, and then this web service, okay, typically inserts a record into a database. Okay, so I will have a support of one of my developers over here. Okay, we will show how the web service looks, and then we will show how to test it. Okay, now we are using a .NET web service. So if you look here, this is how typically one can code. Again, I'm just showing this code for your academic purpose. I'm not trying to teach you how to code a web service, but now this is very typical of its case. You can use a web service, system.web.services.web service. Then what we are doing is, you could see something called a web method over here. Okay, that's an important tag. What we are doing is simply three methods: add an employee, update an employee, get the details from the employee table. There is a method called add employee details under this web service. It takes employee code, employee name, salary as three parameters. It inserts that data. We are not doing any validation. So if I call the web service for this method and pass the parameters, it should do this. Second method that we are doing is update the employee details. Given the employee code and then the salary, it will update the salary. Third web method is get the employee details. Okay, it will get all the employee details and then display it. Right? This is what we are trying to do. Now, this is coded as a web service in .NET. Now, we are going to run this, then we are going to test this, and then how to call a web service from a browser. That is the next thing. Now, I open a browser. Okay, the web service is already running. Hope you are seeing a browser now. Okay, can you please raise your hands if you see a browser now? Cool. Now, when the web service starts running, you could see a page appearing like this. It automatically shows add employee details, get all employee details, update employee details. Okay, these are all the three methods that was there in the code. I'm just flipping back to the same code. Look here, there are three methods: update employee details, get all employee details, add employee details. Okay, these three methods are inside this web service .cs file. The moment this is run, you could see those methods appearing over here. Now, I want to test this add employee details. All you need to do is simple unit testing of a web service. I am testing a web service. I know the logic. If I pass employee code, employee name, salary, it will insert data. Okay. Now, I click this add employee details. I am not writing this HTML code at all. I am not writing the form at all. Okay. .NET Framework and the Visual Studio itself is providing this information to me based on the tag web method. You could see something like here. See at this top where the mouse is now pointing. Service.asmx. Okay. Typically you will see ASPX. Okay. The ASMX is typically denoting the web service. And this OP equal to, that is called the operation. Remember, first I told service provider, right? And then operations. So operation is add employee details. Now I'm entering employee code 501, employee name Abdul, salary I'm saying as 500. I click invoke. Okay. When I click invoke, it opens another browser. When I clicked this invoke button, it called the service in the backend, and then it is displaying me record inserted successfully, and you see this string / string. This is also XML, right? From where this comes from, this message, if you go back to this code, right? Once this particular insert statement is executed, you could see record inserted successfully. So it actually works, this insert statement. Then it gives me this. Finally, it is showing me an XML file. One person is saying, how are you sure that this is inserting the record or not? The next thing is, I go to the MySQL database. Once I go to this MySQL database, right? Now I just execute it once again. So I press F8. Do you see a record? Employee ID 1, employee code I gave as 501, employee name Abdul, and then the salary 500. It actually added this. It goes to the backend. This UI I didn't create. All I did is a web service. So when I want to test it, I am now testing an ad. Let me repeat it. One person has asked, can you repeat it? Okay. Now I go to this, I close this result file. I go to this web service invocation screen. Then now I give 502. Now I gave Bob, and then salary I give as 200. I click invoke. When I click invoke, okay, it executes the service. Now I go to this MySQL. Now I press F8. It's a refresh. Now you see 502 Bob 200. That is also added. So testing a web service, don't be afraid. My first thing that I used to tell my testers is, don't get into the trap of, hey, this is something big really, right? It is not actually very big. Very simple. Only thing is people are not aware. Okay. So if you know the concept now, it is very, very simple. So testing a web service is also as simple as testing a form. Okay. That's simple. Now, I tested only one method, add employee. Okay. Now I want to test another method. So I want to give employee code as 502. Okay. Then I want to update the salary to say 300. I want to update that. So what I need to do is, again, I go to this. I want to test update employee details. Now I click here. It shows all the three things. Now I choose the method update employee details. .NET Framework knows the parameters, right? Now someone is asking, how does it know? That is a trick. Look here. If you look at this, there is a SOAP 1.1 protocol. There is on, if you look here, there is some amount of header information over here. Then it says SOAP envelope. Wherever you are seeing SOAP envelope / SOAP envelope, it is also XML, right? It is calling this particular update employee details, and there are two parameters, str employee code and salary. This is a string, this is a decimal. and SOAP has a header and SOAP has a body. The body is the method and parameters. So if you know that, it's very simple. And in how exactly it works in HTTP post, people asking if you are familiar with PHP coding or JSP coding, you know the query string, right? Question mark str employee code equal to string, ampersand I salary equal to string, right? This is how it goes as a query string. Whereas when it goes through XML to the web service, it goes like this with XML format. Now coming back, I'm giving employee code as 502, right? I hope this is the employee code. Okay, 502 is the employee code. Now I'm giving the salary as 333. So it should go to this record, update that record. Now I invoke this one. Now I get a message, record updated successfully. One person has asked, you are testing the method directly. Does it mean testing a web service is similar to unit testing? You are right. You are exactly right. Okay. Someone is asking whether SOAP is a language. No, SOAP is not a language. SOAP is a format. As the name suggests, protocol. Protocol means some structure or a format. Okay. So you directly call a method within the service and you pass the parameters directly. Yes, you are right. We are directly testing that method within the web service. Now I go back to MySQL, I press F8, look at this line. Now the data 502 Bob has been updated as 333. Correct? Now I am going to test the third method also. How do that? Again, I am coming back to the browser. Click here. I go to get all employee details. If I click this particular method doesn't require a parameter. You just directly click invoke. When you click invoke, this is what I want to know. The people should know, right? Look here. This is an XML, okay? It has a lot of information. It says employee code, employee name, salary. If you look at this portion, it is defining the data type. So the first portion of the result set is the data type, okay? Sorry, I need to come back to this. Then I come down, it actually starts having the employee data, right? If you look at this, this is a node, this is another node, right? Now if I expand this node, I am seeing the container table ID, employee ID / employee ID, employee code, employee name, salary, right? And you get the data, whatever you are seeing from the table, the auto-generated ID 1, the employee code that you gave is this 501 Abdul 500. The second record 502 Bob 333. The data comes as XML. So testing a web service, if you are a tester, what you are supposed to do is, as usual, okay, in database 501 is the employee code. It should appear in this tag. Whether it is appear in this tag, you need to check that. And what is the structure of this format, of this node? What is the structure of this container? That information you need to get from the development team, check against that. So essentially, you are testing the format, you are testing the data, right? Now, what I have shown you is testing a web service through a browser. This is the easiest method. Okay, simply go to the browser and then invoke that ASMX file. When the web service is running, you get all the methods listed. When you click a particular method, it will show you the parameters, right? Now, I showed you the positive way. Now what I'm going to do is, I am going to give an employee code which is not existing, 603, salary equal to 445. You and I very much know that this doesn't exist. 603 doesn't exist, 445, so that it cannot update that record. So I am going to tell you how to do the negative testing also for web service. I know this will go to the database, try to update the employee code 603, which is not there. Now I click invoke. Look, it doesn't display anything, right? We don't get anything. Why? Now, either you expect an error or some information. Now you go back. Now you go back to your code, right? If you go back to this code, you can tell the developer, hey, when there is an issue, right? I should get either this one or I should get a method error message back, right? Because if you look at the code, I never got either the successfully method didn't come. I never got error message also, because the developer did not send me back, right? So this person should have, if he has coded if the execution is good, he is giving me the message. He has not coded else part, right? That's why I never got anything. So I got a blank message. That itself is an error, correct? So you need to go to that extent to do this part, okay? Now what I am going to do is, let me go to this data table, delete these records, okay? I delete these records, I delete this, I save this. Now let us try to run this. Get all employee details. What happens? This is also a negative condition, right? There is no record existing. I am trying to get something. I click employee details. Now I want to invoke. I invoke. Now you look here. It simply gives a blank XML to me, because again the programmer did not send a message back saying that no records found. So even getting a blank error message is also a problem, correct? A blank success message, a blank error message is also a problem. So you need to ensure that your information is correctly sent, right? Now again, some people are asking, okay, can you give negative data, etc., etc. Let us try. I go here, employee code as ABC, employee name as James, salary as 789B, okay? I try to invoke this method, okay? When I get this invoke method, right, it gives me an error method. Right away it is giving me an exception, right? So it is not something like an application returning an exception. The invocation itself is returning an exception. So if these information are not taken care by your programmer, you may get either a blank method, right? Or you can you may get like exception logs like this, right? That portion you will actually test it. So my sincere advice to all the testers is, don't try to complicate web service testing. It is simple. The moment you know the method and the parameter, you can always call it and then test it, okay? Okay, let me have, there are a lot of questions coming up. Let me try to answer some of them, okay? Someone has asked, I have provided the name and other things for the QA monitor URL, but I did not get email now, okay? If you want for your company, right, then send mail from company address. If you want our QA monitor, many people may not know what it is. I'll just show this. QA monitor is our free bug tracking and test management tool. If you go to freeqamonitor.com, okay, if you go to freeqamonitor.com, okay, you will see this website. The screen is refreshing. Okay. So I'm just sending that information to all of you. So if you go to freeqamonitor.com, there is a registration thing, there is a demo, right? If you want to get a demo project, you can go to this registration, right? Or if you want to, just one second, if you want to get it for your company, right? When you go to the registration page, you can register on your personal email. It's no harm. If you want to use it for your company, send us an email from the company email ID so that we will create a separate instance for your purpose itself. So this is a registration page that you are seeing. For your personal purpose, for evaluation, everything, you can register here. You will get one project you can start using for 30 days, not an issue at all. If you want for your company, please send from your company address email. We will give the link to you. And again, up to 25 users for a company, it is free forever. If you want more than 25 users, you can purchase from here. That's the first question that we answered. And another person has asked, when is the last day to enroll for the Loadrunner session? That is tomorrow evening to night. So the Saturday morning, 8 o'clock, we are doing a paid webinar on Loadrunner. So if you can send the payments before that, we will be able to give you the link. Okay. Then another question is that web services should be accessed by anyone if it is prepared. Again, if it is deployed in the web server, anyone who is having the access to the web server can use it. So as long as it is a web server, it is open to all the people who are able to access that web server. Then someone is asking, deploy a web service in Tomcat. It's simple. Whatever concepts that you are seeing for IIS, it is similar to what you do it in Tomcat also. So it is nothing different. Here we used C# because we felt that is easy. Okay. And then where is the web service running? Web service is running under the environment of the web server, obviously. Right? Okay, so someone has asked, you are using the word cool. My manager is also using that. Cool, okay, it indicates okay, right? It's a synonymous word to say okay, fine. Okay, good. Then some people have asked, how do you configure Visual Studio for web services? Again, our aim here is not to code a web service, only to test the web service. All you need is get the ASMX information from your development team, change it, or say use it. Okay. Okay. Another question is how to test where a web service takes XML input file instead of these string values. Again, if you are able to read from the XML file and then pass it, that should be fine. Because we are talking about unit testing here of that XML independent methods. We try to give independent, wrong or negative values for the employee code, etc., etc. That we have already seen. Can we delete a record? Actually, you can do it. Only thing is we have not coded that here. We just coded insert, update, and view. You can code anything, any logic inside the web method. You can do that. Not an issue at all. Okay. Now, shouldn't we use any web service client to test the web service? You can. There are many tools that are available to test web services. Okay, I'll show you something. Again, I'm not going to that. SoapUI. I think org. I'm not sure. There's a website called SoapUI. Okay, this provides a UI based information for testing SOAP services. So there are a lot of tools like this. So it need not be just .NET, it need not be just browser alone. So you can test the web services using many tools. Okay, it actually redirects to smartbear.software.com. So the SOAP UI is the one specifically for testing the web services. Okay, so you can go here and then read more details for SOAP UI. So this is one tool. Again, we are not to suggest which tool you need to use, which is the best tool. We are not in that space. Our purpose here to give you some information about testing and other things. So if you want to do SOAP testing, you can use this tool. This is one tool. There are a lot of tools like this. Okay. Then failure scenarios, again, you make the web service to fail by passing the wrong values, right? Obviously, if it is coded right, it will catch those errors and then send you back, but in again XML. Again, one person has asked, can you send this data in HTTP post and then show me how it works? As I said, our purpose here to test the web service, not HTTP post. So I'm keeping myself away from that particular question. Sorry for that, but a few more questions. There are too many questions coming. Someone has asked how to check whether the web application has got web service, right? You cannot find it out unless you run protocol analyzer, right? If you do only black box testing, if you view the UI only, you may not be in a position to tell whether it is using normal web request or SOAP request. It goes through the backend, so you cannot tell by seeing it. And for QA monitor, which ID we should send the email? You can send it to sales@softsmith.com. So if you send a mail to sales@softsmith.com for QA monitor, we should be in a position to service you. The next thing that we are going to see is how to actually load test a web service. Why should I load test a web service? First of all,